There is something you need to understand about attraction before you ever try to understand a woman. Attraction is not a game of tricks. It is not about finding the right sentence, wearing the right clothes, pretending to be somebody you are not, or learning how to push emotional buttons so someone becomes attached to you. Real attraction begins much deeper than that. It begins with the way a person feels in your presence. Because people may forget your exact words. They may forget what you wore. They may even forget the details of the first conversation you had. But they remember how they felt around you. And if you want to become deeply attractive, stop asking yourself, what can I do to make her want me? Start asking, who must I become so that being around me feels honest, safe, exciting, and meaningful? That question changes everything. Because the strongest attraction is not created by manipulation. It is created by presence. And there are emotional experiences that can naturally deepen attraction when they are genuine. The first is emotional safety. Listen carefully. A woman may be impressed by confidence, intelligence, ambition, appearance, or success, but none of those things can replace the feeling that she can breathe around you. Emotional safety does not mean becoming weak. It does not mean agreeing with everything she says. It does not mean becoming available every second of every day. It means she does not have to constantly defend herself against your ego. She can speak without being mocked. She can disagree without being punished. She can reveal something vulnerable without wondering whether you will use it against her later. And when you create that kind of environment, something powerful happens. The nervous system relaxes. The heart opens. Trust begins to grow. Think about that. How many people spend their lives performing because they are afraid of being judged? How many people walk into relationships wearing armor because somebody once made them regret being vulnerable, and then someone comes along who does not demand perfection, someone who listens, someone who does not immediately try to fix everything, someone who can hear difficult emotions without turning them into an argument. That person becomes memorable, not because they used a trick, but because they created peace. And I want you to understand something tonight. Being emotionally safe does not mean becoming predictable. You can be strong and safe. You can have boundaries and still be kind. You can be masculine and still be emotionally intelligent. You can disagree without becoming cruel. That is strength. The second emotional experience is being genuinely seen, not watched, seen. There is a difference. Anyone can look at somebody. Very few people truly notice them. If you want deeper attraction, learn to pay attention. Notice what excites her. Notice what makes her laugh. Notice the little things she mentions casually. Notice when her energy changes. Notice the dreams she talks about and the things she pretends do not matter. And do not turn observation into surveillance. Do not study her so you can manipulate her. Listen because you care. There is something deeply powerful about being around a person who remembers. You mention something once, and months later they remember. You tell them about a dream, and later they ask how it is going. You say you had a difficult day, and they do not forget. That communicates something words cannot always communicate. I heard you. I noticed you. You matter to me. And in a world where people are constantly distracted by screens, notifications, and their own desires, genuine attention has become rare. Do not underestimate the power of listening. Sometimes the most attractive thing you can do is stop preparing your response and actually hear the person standing in front of you. The third emotional experience is admiration. And no, I am not talking about putting a woman on a pedestal. I am talking about recognizing her value. There is a difference between worshiping somebody and appreciating somebody. Healthy attraction grows when two people genuinely respect one another. Tell her what you admire, but make it specific. Do not simply say, "You're beautiful." Tell her you admire the courage she showed when she started again. Tell her you respect the way she takes care of the people she loves. Tell her you appreciate the discipline she has developed. Tell her you noticed how she kept going when things became difficult. Because appearance may attract attention, but character creates respect. And respect is one of the strongest foundations of lasting attraction. But here is where many people get lost. They praise someone because they want something in return. That is not admiration. That is negotiation disguised as affection. If your compliment has a hidden price tag attached to it, it is not a compliment. Give appreciation freely. See the person, not just the possibility of what they can give you. And understand this. A woman who feels respected does not have to wonder whether your interest is based entirely on what you can receive from her. She can feel the difference. The fourth emotional experience is emotional depth. And this is where many conversations die. People talk about work, weather, money, entertainment, traffic plans. But they rarely talk about what is happening underneath all of it. What are you afraid of? What are you building? What do you believe? What have you learned from disappointment? What kind of life do you want? What makes you feel alive? What would you do if you knew you could not fail? Those conversations create a different kind of connection, because attraction becomes deeper when someone discovers that there is more to you than your surface. But do not fake depth. Do not memorize philosophical quotes and suddenly become somebody's therapist. Do not manufacture vulnerability because you heard vulnerability creates attraction. Be real, share your experiences. Talk about lessons. Talk about mistakes. Talk about the moments that changed you. And be willing to listen when she does the same. Death is not dumping your entire emotional history onto somebody you barely know. Death is allowing another person to gradually discover the human being behind the image. And that takes courage, because when you are authentic, you cannot completely control how people will respond. But that is the price of real connection. The fifth emotional experience is excitement. Now listen carefully, because excitement is often misunderstood. Some people think they have to create jealousy, disappear for days, act emotionally unavailable, or keep someone confused in order to create excitement. That is not attraction. That is instability. There is a difference between mystery and manipulation. You do not need to make someone anxious to make them interested. God create excitement through life. Have goals, have passions, try new experiences. Law. Travel when you can. Learn something. Build something. Take her somewhere neither of you has been. Have conversations that make both of you think. Create memories instead of manufacturing uncertainty. A person with a life they genuinely enjoy becomes naturally interesting. Why? Because they are not asking another person to become their entire source of meaning. They bring something into the relationship. They have stories. They have curiosity. They have dreams. They have direction. And that kind of energy is attractive because it comes from abundance rather than desperation. You do not have to chase attention when you are busy becoming someone you respect. You do not have to pretend you are unavailable when your life is already full. You do not have to create jealousy when you have genuine confidence. Build a life that gives you something worth sharing. The sixth emotional experience is freedom, and this may be the most misunderstood of them all. Real attraction needs room to breathe. You cannot force affection. You cannot demand chemistry. You cannot control somebody into loving you. And the harder you try to possess another person, the more you destroy the very thing you claim to want. Love requires choice. Attraction requires choice. Connection requires choice. Give another person the freedom to choose you, and make your own choice at the same time. Do not abandon your identity just because someone likes you. Do not cancel your goals because you are afraid they might leave. Do not become whatever you think someone wants. Stand firmly inside your own life, because confidence is not saying, "You cannot leave me." Confidence is knowing, "I would love for you to stay, but I will not betray myself to make you stay." That is powerful. That is mature. That is attractive. And I want every person listening to understand this. The goal is not to discover 6 buttons you can push inside a woman. The goal is to become the kind of person who naturally creates these experiences through character. Safety, being seen, admiration, excitement, freedom. None of these require manipulation. They require maturity. They require emotional intelligence. They require patience. They require self-respect. And most importantly, they require you to stop treating women like puzzles that need to be solved. She is not a puzzle. She is a person. She has history. She has fears. She has dreams. She has boundaries. She has experiences you may never fully understand. And if you approach her with curiosity instead of entitlement, something changes inside you. You stop asking, "How do I get her?" You begin asking, "Can we build something healthy together?" That is a completely different mindset. And let me tell you something else. If you want to become deeply attractive, become emotionally disciplined. Learn how to handle rejection without becoming bitter. Learn how to hear no without turning it into an insult. Learn how to apologize without feeling humiliated. Learn how to communicate without shouting. Learn how to walk away from disrespect without revenge. Learn how to express desire without demanding reciprocation. Learn how to be interested without becoming obsessed. Learn how to love without possessing. Because anybody can perform confidence when everything is going their way. Your real character appears when you do not get what you want. That is when people discover who you really are. And if she does not choose you, do not turn her into your enemy. Do not insult her. Do not create stories about how she missed her chance. Do not convince yourself that she secretly wants you. Accept reality with dignity. There is tremendous power in being able to say, "I wanted this, but I respect your decision." That sentence contains more strength than 100 manipulative tactics, because you are not trying to control another human being. You are controlling yourself, and self-control is one of the deepest forms of power. So if you are sitting here wondering how to become more attractive, start with the mirror. Not the mirror that tells you whether your clothes look good. The deeper mirror, ask yourself, can people trust me? Can I listen? Can I communicate? Can I handle rejection? Can I respect boundaries? Can I make someone feel valued without expecting something in return? Do I have a life of my own? Do I keep my promises? Do I know who I am when nobody is applauding? Because attraction is not merely about what you say when someone is watching. It is about who you become when nobody is watching. And when you become grounded in yourself, you stop performing. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop manipulating. You stop trying to manufacture emotions in someone else. You simply show up as a whole human being, and then you let connection happen naturally. Maybe she will feel it. Maybe she will not. But either way, you will have something more valuable than temporary attraction. You will have integrity. You will have self-respect. You will have emotional strength. And you will have the ability to create relationships where two people do not have to lose themselves in order to belong to each other. So remember this. Do not become attractive by learning how to control someone's emotions. Become attractive by becoming someone whose presence brings honesty, warmth, confidence, curiosity, laughter, respect, and peace. Let your words have meaning. Let your silence have dignity. Let your actions agree with your promises. Let your ambition have direction. Let your heart have boundaries. Let your confidence come from knowing who you are rather than from needing someone else to validate you. And when you stand before a woman, do not stand there thinking, "How can I make her fall for me?" Stand there thinking, "Let me meet her honestly. Let me listen. Let me be present. Let me respect her freedom. Let me allow her to see who I really am." And if something beautiful grows between us, let it grow because both of us freely chose it. Because the deepest attraction is not created when someone becomes emotionally trapped. It is created when two people feel free enough to be themselves and still choose to come closer. There comes a moment in a man's life when he realizes that the greatest power he can possess is not the ability to make everybody notice him, but the ability to remain completely secure even when nobody does. That is the moment when something changes. You stop walking into rooms asking yourself whether people approve of you. You stop wondering whether someone is impressed. You stop measuring your worth by attention, compliments, messages, invitations, or affection. You stop performing, and when a man stops performing, he becomes powerful in a way that cannot be easily explained, because there is something different about a person who does not need to prove himself. You can feel it. You can see it in the way he walks. You can hear it in the way he speaks. You can notice it in the way he handles silence. He does not rush to fill every empty space. He does not interrupt because he is afraid of being forgotten. He does not exaggerate his accomplishments because he needs applause. He does not become aggressive because someone questioned him. He does not become desperate because someone walked away. He knows who he is. And when you know who you are, you no longer need to convince everyone else. That is where real confidence begins. Not in arrogance, not in superiority, not in pretending that you are better than everybody else. Real confidence begins when you stop needing to be better than everybody else. You understand that your journey is your own. Your life is your own. Your mistakes are your teachers. Your victories are your responsibilities. Your future is your assignment. And because you have stopped comparing your life to everybody else's life, you become free. Listen to me carefully. A man who is secure within himself does not need to control the room. He can enter the room and simply be present. He does not have to be the loudest. He does not have to tell the funniest story. He does not have to dominate every conversation. He does not have to announce his accomplishments. He does not have to show everybody how successful he is. There is a quiet strength in him, and people notice quiet strength. Not because he demands attention, but because he does not chase it. Think about the people you naturally respect. Some people walk into a room and immediately begin trying to prove that they belong there. Others walk in as though they already belong. There is no desperation in their movement, no nervous performance, no need to impress. They are comfortable in their own skin, and that comfort creates a presence. You cannot fake that for long. You can fake confidence for a conversation. You can fake confidence for a photograph. You can fake confidence on social media. But eventually life will ask you questions that expose what is underneath. What happens when someone rejects you? What happens when someone criticizes you? What happens when someone chooses another person? What happens when your plan fails? What happens when you are misunderstood? What happens when nobody applauds? That is where security reveals itself, because insecurity says, I need to make them regret rejecting me. Security says, their decision does not determine my value. Insecurity says, I need everyone to understand me. Security says, I know what I meant and I can communicate it without begging for approval. Insecurity says, I must respond immediately. Security says, I can pause. Insecurity says, if they leave, I am losing something essential. Security says, I can love someone and still remain whole without them. That is a different kind of strength. And I want you to understand that strength does not mean you never feel pain. A secure man feels pain. He feels disappointment. He feels loneliness. He experiences rejection. He gets hurt. He has nights when he questions himself. The difference is that he does not allow those emotions to become his identity. He feels them without becoming controlled by them. He can say, this hurts, without saying, this destroys me. He can say, I wanted her, without saying, I cannot live without her. He can say, I failed, without saying, I am a failure. There is a difference between experiencing something and becoming something. Your emotions are real. But they are not always instructions. You can feel angry and choose patience. You can feel jealous and choose honesty. You can feel afraid and still move forward. You can feel rejected and still maintain dignity. That is emotional security. And emotional security changes the way people experience you. Because when you are not fighting yourself internally, you have more presence externally. You can actually listen. You can look someone in the eyes without constantly wondering how you are being perceived. You can have a conversation without rehearsing your next sentence. You can laugh without worrying whether your laugh sounds impressive. You can admit when you do not know something. You can say, I was wrong. And there is extraordinary power in a person who can say those 3 words without collapsing. I was wrong. Not, I was wrong, but not. I was wrong because you simply, I was wrong. That is security. You do not have to protect a false image when you are committed to becoming a better human being. And that is one of the most attractive qualities a person can develop. Because when you are secure, you become teachable. You can receive correction without feeling attacked. You can receive criticism without automatically becoming defensive. You can listen to another perspective without assuming that your identity is under threat. You can change your mind. You can grow. You can apologize. You can improve. A fragile ego needs to be right. A secure person needs to be honest. And honesty will take you further than pride ever could. There is another thing that happens when you become secure within yourself. You stop chasing validation. You stop asking people to tell you who you are. You stop depending on attention to feel attractive. You stop depending on romantic interest to feel worthy. You stop needing strangers to admire your lifestyle. You stop posting your life just to prove that your life is valuable. You begin living for the experience rather than the announcement, and that is freedom. Imagine going somewhere beautiful and not immediately thinking about how you will photograph it. Imagine accomplishing something meaningful and allowing yourself to enjoy it before telling the world. Imagine becoming stronger without needing anyone to know how hard you worked. Imagine improving your life quietly. Imagine becoming disciplined without announcing your discipline. Imagine becoming wiser without needing to tell everybody that you have changed. That kind of growth has a different energy because it is not built for applause. It is built for transformation. And when your growth is not dependent on applause, nobody can take it away from you. People can ignore you. They can criticize you. They can misunderstand you. They can fail to recognize your progress. And you can keep going. That is when your presence begins speaking without words. Your life becomes the evidence. You do not have to say you are disciplined because your habits reveal it. You do not have to say you are confident because your decisions reveal it. You do not have to say you are mature because the way you handle conflict reveals it. You do not have to say you are emotionally strong because your behavior during difficult moments reveals it. Character eventually speaks louder than advertising, and there is nothing wrong with telling people who you are. But there comes a point when your behavior should no longer require explanation. If you are always telling people that you are loyal, ask whether your actions demonstrate loyalty. If you are always telling people that you are strong, ask how you behave under pressure. If you are always telling people that you respect women, ask how you behave when a woman says no. If you are always telling people that you are confident, ask whether rejection makes you cruel. If you are always telling people that you have changed, ask whether your habits have changed, because words can create an image. Truths create a reputation, and reputation eventually becomes presence. That is why you should stop trying so hard to look like the man you want to become, and start practicing the qualities of that man when nobody is watching. If you want confidence, keep promises to yourself. If you say you are going to wake up early, wake up early. If you say you are going to train, train. If you say you are going to stop contacting someone who repeatedly disrespects you, keep your boundary. If you say you are going to finish something, finish it. Every promise you keep to yourself builds self-trust. And every promise you break teaches your mind that your own word cannot be trusted. You cannot build deep confidence on top of constant self-betrayal. You need evidence, evidence that you can trust yourself. Evidence that you can survive difficult days. Evidence that you can make decisions. Evidence that you can walk away. Evidence that you can begin again. Evidence that you can stand alone. That is where security comes from. Not from thinking, I am amazing, but from knowing, whatever happens, I will face it. That sentence changes your entire life. Whatever happens, I will face it. If she says no, I will face it. If the opportunity disappears, I will face it. If people misunderstand me, I will face it. If I make a mistake, I will face it. If I have to start again, I will face it. If I lose something I loved, I will grieve and face it. If I discover something about myself that needs to change, I will face it. That is strength, not the absence of fear. The willingness to face reality. And once you develop that strength, you become less reactive. You stop responding to every little provocation. Someone makes a disrespectful comment. You do not immediately explode. Someone ignores you. You do not immediately chase. Someone disagrees with you. You do not immediately attack. Someone tries to provoke jealousy. You do not participate in the performance. You ask yourself one simple question. Does this deserve my energy? That question can save you years of unnecessary conflict, because not everything deserves a response. Not every accusation deserves an explanation. Not every misunderstanding needs a courtroom. Not every person deserves access to your emotions. Security gives you the ability to choose, and choice is power. You choose what deserves your attention. You choose where your energy goes. You choose who gets access to your personal life. You choose what behavior you tolerate. You choose what you walk away from. You choose what you forgive. You choose what you release. And when you can make those choices without needing everyone to agree with them, you become difficult to manipulate. Not because you are cold, because you are grounded. There is a tremendous difference between being emotionally unavailable and being emotionally stable. An emotionally unavailable person runs from intimacy. A secure person can experience intimacy without losing himself. He can care deeply without becoming dependent. He can love deeply without becoming possessive. He can commit without abandoning his identity. He can give without begging. He can receive without becoming entitled. He understands that two people can love one another and still remain two complete individuals. That is healthy connection. You do not need another person to complete you. You need another person who can walk beside you while you continue completing the work within yourself. And this is where many people make a mistake. They meet someone they are attracted to and immediately make that person the center of their emotional universe. Suddenly, their mood depends on a message. Their confidence depends on attention. Their schedule depends on availability. Their happiness depends on whether somebody responds. Their entire emotional world becomes controlled by one person. That is not love, that is dependence. And dependence eventually creates pressure. Because when you make someone responsible for your happiness, you are asking them to carry something that belongs to you. Build your own foundation, have your own goals, have friendships, have interests, have principles. Have a relationship with your own conscience. Have something you are building that exists beyond romance. Then when someone enters your life, they become part of your world rather than the entire world. That is healthier for both people. And there is something beautiful about a man who can say, I want you, without saying, I need you to validate me. Desire and dependence are not the same thing. You can deeply desire someone's presence while remaining secure in your own. You can miss someone without losing yourself. You can love someone without controlling them. You can be passionate without being possessive. You can care without chasing. And when you understand this, your relationships become calmer. You stop playing games. You stop pretending not to care when you actually care. You stop disappearing just to see whether someone will chase you. You stop creating jealousy to measure interest. You stop withholding affection to gain power. You stop using silence as punishment. You begin communicating. You begin telling the truth. You begin saying what you want. And then you allow the other person to make their own choice. That is what secure connection looks like. You say, I enjoy being around you. I would like to see you again. I care about you. I do not appreciate being treated that way. I need some time to think. I disagree. I am sorry. I understand. I cannot accept that. Simple words, strong words, honest words. You do not need emotional games when you have emotional courage. And emotional courage is far more powerful than manipulation. Now let me tell you something about silence. Silence is not powerful simply because you say nothing. Silence becomes powerful when you are comfortable inside it. There are people who become silent because they are afraid. And there are people who become silent because they are grounded. Those are not the same. The first silence says, I don't know what to do. The second says, I don't need to react to everything. Learn the difference. When you are secure, silence does not frighten you. You can sit across from someone without filling every second with words. You can think before responding. You can let another person finish speaking. You can walk away from an argument and return when emotions are calmer. You can spend an evening alone without desperately reaching for your phone. And that brings us to another essential truth. Learn to enjoy your own company. If you cannot be alone without feeling abandoned, you will accept almost anything just to avoid loneliness. You will tolerate disrespect. You will chase people who do not choose you. You will compromise your values. You will stay in situations that diminish you.
Why?
Because you are afraid of the quiet. But solitude can become a teacher. Spend time with yourself. Ride, walk, think, work, exercise, .capate. Pray if that is meaningful to you. Reflect, learn, dream, build. Let yourself become familiar with your own mind. Because when you know how to be alone, you stop entering relationships from desperation. You enter them from choice. And there is an enormous difference between saying, I need someone because I cannot stand being alone, and saying, my life is meaningful on its own, and I would love to share it with someone who adds to it. The second person carries a different presence. There is less pressure, less fear, more honesty, more freedom, more respect. And people can feel that. They feel when you are trying to possess them. They feel when you are terrified of losing them. They feel when your kindness has an agenda. They feel when your confidence disappears the moment they stop giving you attention. But they can also feel when you are grounded. They can feel when you are not trying to manipulate them. They can feel when you are listening because you genuinely care. They can feel when your interest is sincere. They can feel when your boundaries are real. They can feel when you are comfortable being yourself. That is why your presence can speak without words, because presence is not magic. Presence is the visible result of what you have built internally. If your mind is chaotic, your behavior eventually reveals it. If your heart is insecure, your relationships eventually reveal it. If your identity depends on approval, rejection will expose it. But if you have done the difficult work of becoming secure within yourself, that security begins to radiate through everything you do. You walk differently. You speak differently. You listen differently. You love differently. You handle rejection differently. You handle success differently. You handle conflict differently. You handle silence differently. You handle attention differently. You become less impressed by appearances and more interested in character. You stop asking, do they like me? And you start asking, do we respect each other? You stop asking, how can I make them stay? And you start asking, are we building something healthy? You stop asking, how can I prove my value? And you start living in a way that reflects your value. That is maturity. And maturity is attractive because it creates stability. The world does not need more people desperately trying to appear powerful. The world needs people who have actually become powerful over themselves. Power over anger, power over impulses, power over insecurity, power over ego, power over jealousy, power over fear, power over the need for constant approval. That is the kind of power that nobody can take from you. And the more you develop it, the less you need to announce it. You will not need to say, I am confident. People will experience your confidence. You will not need to say, I am disciplined. People will see the consistency of your life. You will not need to say, I am emotionally mature. People will notice how you communicate. You will not need to say, I respect boundaries. People will know because you honor their no. You will not need to say, I am secure. People will recognize it because you do not collapse when you are not chosen. And that is when your presence begins to speak before your mouth ever opens, not because you are trying to create an impression. Because you have become the impression, you have become calm, you have become grounded, you have become honest, you have become intentional, you have become comfortable with yourself. And when you become comfortable with yourself, you give other people permission to become comfortable around you. You no longer enter relationships asking another human being to rescue you from your own emptiness. You enter with something to offer, your attention, your honesty, your respect, your laughter, your curiosity, your loyalty, your passion, your peace. And you understand that attraction is not about controlling another person's emotions. It is about creating an environment where genuine connection has room to exist. So build yourself, not for her, not for applause, not for social media, not to make an ex jealous, not to make strangers admire you. Build yourself because you have one life, and you are responsible for what you do with it. Become a man who can stand alone. Become a man who can love without losing himself. Become a man who can hear no without becoming bitter. Become a man who can hear yes without becoming arrogant. Become a man who can receive criticism without collapsing. Become a man who can receive praise without becoming addicted. Become a man whose values do not change depending on who is watching. Become a man whose private life matches his public image. Become a man who does not need to announce his transformation because people can see it in his choices. And when you walk into the room, let your calmness say what your mouth never needs to explain. Let your eyes say that you are present. Let your posture say that you are comfortable in your own skin. Let your patience say that you are not desperate. Let your boundaries say that you respect yourself. Let your kindness say that strength does not require cruelty. Let your discipline say that your future matters to you. Let your silence say that you do not need to compete for every moment. Let your consistency say that your words mean something. Let your life say that you have become a person you can trust. Because when you trust yourself, you stop begging others to trust you. When you respect yourself, you stop begging others to respect you. When you know your value, you stop demanding that everyone recognize it. And when you become secure within yourself, you no longer walk through life trying to convince the world that you are worthy of being loved.